We are back. It is another episode of the Golden V podcast. It is Saturday, April 4th. Happy Easter weekend. As the Vancouver Canadians are currently in Pasco, Washington, playing the Tri-City Dust Devils for their first baseball series of the season. I have a regular returning guest, the silky and smooth voice of the Vancouver Canadians in-game for the pregame announcements starting at 6:30, and then obviously all throughout the game calling out the players, Mr. Niall Donohue from CS Plus Baseball. Niall, how are you?
I'm good, Ben. That's quite the introduction. Silky and smooth.
Oh man, definitely silky and smooth. But let's just get right into this, right? Because I've just been writing my latest batter's box update on all the Toronto Blue Jays minor league affiliates, and it fits in very nicely with the start of our conversation because the Vancouver Canadians last night in Pasco, Washington, facing the Tri-City Dust Devils, first game of the season for that team. And Arjun Nimmala, who was here last year, obviously, for his entire season at High A, makes a bit of a name for himself in that game.
He did. Home run on the very first pitch he saw and added another hit later on. So a 2-hit night for him. That's a good start for him. And
right,
he wants to get to AA New Hampshire like right now. I mean,
right.
He looks like a man on a mission. And, there was talk that maybe he was going to get to AA last year. He got off to a tremendous start the first two months of the season, but unfortunately things didn't go quite as well. But, keep in mind, he's only 20 years old and, still in good position to really take a big leap in his development this year. And, he's considered the best defender in the organization, according to Baseball America. Right. And, he was able to stay healthy last year, which is a good thing because, they say availability is a good ability to have, really. So that's a promising start. Good to see Arjun off to a good start. Again, only 20 years old and still considered one of the top prospects in the Blue Jay system.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see, right? Because I had this thought, and it's obviously, I wouldn't call it an uneducated thought, but it's a thought about when a guy like Bo Bichette departs for the New York Mets. I mean, obviously the Blue Jays have a lot of other shortstops and middle infielders in position before a guy like Nimmala makes the major leagues. But you have to wonder what the departure of someone like Bichette does for his path to Toronto.
Well, it's going to be a while yet before we see Arjun. Maybe if things go well enough, maybe next year, who knows? But, maybe 2028 might be more realistic, but who knows? I mean, the sky is the limit. He's a very talented player, no question about it. But yeah, it definitely has opened things up a lot, considering Leo Jimenez, a former Vancouver Canadian. He is now with the Miami Marlins. Yep. So that opens up a spot, maybe someone like a Josh Kasevich, who had a really good spring training. We might see him sooner rather than later up with the Blue Jays. So, it does certainly open up the competition even more. But Arjun Nimmala, we could very well be seeing him in Toronto. Who knows? Maybe as soon as 2027 if all goes well.
Yeah, but let's keep going here too, because we're looking at stuff I had from Batter's Box, and obviously one of the things I noticed in looking at the press release the Canadians put out, and quick hi to Tyler Zickel, obviously as well. I mean, it was Arjun's big night, and I was just reading the synopsis. But one thing that struck me too is a lot of debuts for Canadians pitchers at the High A level. I don't know them that well. You probably know them better than I do. I see Landon
Morotis.
Thank you, Morotis. Landon Morotis makes his debut last night. Obviously, 3 scoreless innings of work, 4 Ks, and then Daniel Guerrero is going to make his debut tonight against Tyler Bremner, who's the Angels' #1 prospect. Mm-hmm. So, even if you could say that it's High A ball, I mean that to me, is another storyline or like an immediate point of interest, right? When you're seeing prospects and you're seeing guys like even on the other team, make that kind of I don't know the best word, debut at High A, right?
Right. Well, as you're saying, Landon Morotis, great job in his High A debut. And he was considered an early riser in the Blue Jays system before he got sidelined with an elbow injury. Instead of getting the full Tommy John, I believe he had like the internal brace procedure, which I guess is not quite as invasive. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you exactly what's involved, but that's from what I've heard anyway. He did come back last year with Dunedin, and it was a bit of a rough go for him, but Yeah, I was kind of surprised that the Blue Jays organization decided to challenge him. I thought they might give him a bit more time in Dunedin before coming up to Vancouver. So that was a surprise seeing him on the Vancouver roster. But from all accounts, did very well last night with 3 shutout innings, and getting the opening day or opening night start in Tri-City. So that's quite an honor for him, and hopefully that's a sign of good things to come. Because again, he was considered a really good prospect, and I believe the Jays gave him second-round money when he was picked, and he was a fourth-round selection. Right. So the Blue Jays obviously had high hopes for him. They liked what they saw, and he's from Clearwater, and that's where he came from. High school at Calvary, not Cavalry. I like to say Cavalry. It's kind of the same branch of the high school that Irv Carter came from, and of course Irv is now.
Yes, I remember Irv very well. Of course.
But certainly a very promising arm to have for the Blue Jays in Landon Marotis, and Daniel Guerra, as you mentioned tonight, also showing some promise. He'll get the start tonight against the Dust Devils. So there are some promising arms in the system. Unfortunately, things kind of got away from the Canadians last night. Walks were killer. The good news was the Canadians' pitching staff struck out 12, but they handed out 11 walks, and that's going to kill you every time. And unfortunately, that's what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's lots of other storylines too. I'm going to share something here that I had pulled up a while ago while I was doing my research, getting ready to chat with you. And I'm just going to find that because it's basically just the Vancouver Canadians full season roster. We've talked a little bit already about Arjun, but I want to look at a few other names on that list too, because there's always names you recognize, and then there's always a lot of guys that you don't recognize. So I recognize guys like Brennan Orff in the outfield, obviously Arjun, Tucker Toman, Carter Cunningham, catchers, Edward Duran. And obviously Jacob Sharp is back. So let's talk about catchers first, then infielders and outfielders.
Sure. Starting with catchers, Edward Duran had a really solid season with Dunedin. Bit of a tough start with the bat in Vancouver, but then he finished up on a strong note, ending the year with a 10-game hitting streak. So, and he's considered really the top catcher right now in the Blue Jays system. I believe MLB Pipeline had him rated 19th heading into the year. So, he was a nice pickup from Miami. That's right. Yeah, I think he came from Miami in a trade. Yes, it was with Miami for it was involving the Jordan Groshans. Jordan Groshans was a first-round pick back in 2018 for the Blue Jays. So he was part of that deal, and who knows, might very well turn out to be a big part of that deal. He's considered to be very, very good defensively, and certainly has some pop in his bat. He also saw time in the Arizona Fall League, so good to have him back to start the year. Jacob Sharp, he was here in 2024. I
remember that. That's why I mentioned it.
That's right. Yeah, he was with New Hampshire in 2025, and he's back again. But he's starting the year on the development list right now. So, he's fine. It's just it's kind of a numbers game because you only have 30 players that you can have on the active roster. So there's still some things to be worked out with the roster, but it is good to have him back. And he certainly had a very strong playoff against Spokane, batting, I believe, was over 300 in that 4-game series. Unfortunately, that Spokane won, but he was certainly a big part of the offense in that playoff run. Hayden Gilliland is back for another year. Hayden was all over the place. He was with Dunedin. I believe he was with New Hampshire for a bit. And then he did come back. He did come back to Vancouver to finish up the year, and certainly a good clubhouse guy, a fun guy to hang around with, and good to talk to. So he certainly adds a good vibe to the clubhouse. So that's as far as the catching goes. Infielder, talking about Tucker Toman, he was here at the tail end of last year, and he'll be here to start this year. And he finished up the year very strong, had his best year as a pro, and keep in mind, really still a young player, and certainly a lot of development. I really like the way he played third base last year in the short time we saw him here at Nat Bailey Stadium. Good throwing arm and a very sure fielder. So that was he'll be nice to have in the lineup. I just try to think who else. Manny Beltre. He was with Dunedin for quite a while. kind of like Tucker Toma was last year. These guys take a little bit longer to develop in Dunedin, but now they're here with Vancouver and looking to take the next step. J.R. Freethy, nice to have him back in the lineup. There was some talk maybe he might have began the year in New Hampshire, because he did end the year in New Hampshire. He got to see a final week of action with the Fisher Cats, and actually hit his first AA home run. But Freethy was quite the force atop the lineup, and had a good night again last night, getting on base. That's what he does, and certainly like what he brings to the table. We talked about Arjun Amala. Carter Cunningham is back. He'll share time in the outfield and at first base. Carter finishing up with 16 home runs, so he's got some pop in the bat, and he's also got a good eye at the plate. And we got some newcomers as well. Kendry Chirinos, he was with Dunedin last year. He's from Cuba, 21-year-old. Expected to supply a bit of thump. Maddox Lotta was a free agent signing last summer, so he got to see action last night. So I think it pretty much covers the infield. Jay Casey, probably the big name. As far as name recognition goes, he is the son of Sean Casey, the mayor, who of course played for the Cincinnati Reds for a long time, and now is an analyst on MLB Network. Alexi Hernandez is back from last year, along with Brennan Orth, and hopefully Brennan can stay healthy. He's had some injury issues the last couple of years. But the name that really excites me as far as the outfield goes, he didn't play last night, but Mathieu Valet, who's the only Canadian in Quebec, born in Saint Eustache, Quebec, and one I'm excited about here is he's got wheels. He set the stolen base record in the Frontier League last year as a member of a Trois Rivières, the Aigle. I know
good pronunciation.
I'm not saying it as well as it could.
Better than I could say it. Better than I could say it. Because I thought Matthew Valley, but if you look at the spelling of Matthew, it would be
Matthew Valley. Yeah, that's how it's said. So I like guys who can steal bases. I mean, I kind of have. Sure, I love to see guys hit home runs, but guys who can just flat out run. I'm looking forward to seeing him in action when he does get in the lineup. And who knows, if he's here long enough, maybe he'll take aim at the Canadians' stolen base record, which is held by Roman Fields, who set that back in 2014 with 48. Stuart Burrow, I believe, was next with 40 when he was here. And of course, Stuart going on to get a cup of coffee of the Blue Jays and the Milwaukee Brewers last year, and Stuart still in the Brewers system. So hopefully we'll see Disco Stu back in the majors sooner rather than later. But I am looking forward to see Mathieu Valet. I mean, guy who can set a stolen base record. Obviously, he's got wheels, and he was a free agent signing by the Blue Jays last winter. So we'll see what he can do. It's going to be exciting to see him.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just looking at staff too. So obviously Jose Mayorga returns as team manager for another season. We probably should mention, because there was emails. I don't know if you saw all the emails, but I had a lot of emails with former Seas manager Brent LaValle being asked to keep certain things secret. I think we're safe to reveal it now about Brent's new role after leaving Vancouver, going to New Hampshire to manage the AA Fisher Cats. Brent LaValle has a new role within the Toronto Blue Jays organization, which to me looks like not just a promotion, but a serious leg up for Brent from obviously being here just 2 years ago.
Yeah, he's going to get hands-on in a player development role. So he's going to basically be a roving instructor. He's going to hit all the minor league stops. So we will see him in Vancouver, I believe, later this season. So it'll be good to see Brent again and say hello. So yeah, I mean, it's. I'm sure he's going to miss not being in the trenches of the truth, so to speak, in the dugout. But obviously the Blue Jays still think very highly of him, and to still keep him around in a player development role, because that's what it's all about in the minor leagues, trying to develop players and get them up to the majors as soon as possible, or to use as trade chips for acquiring future big leaguers to help out the big club in Toronto. So it's good for Brent. Jose Mayorga is back. It's pretty unusual to see the same coaching staff almost return, save for one change, and that's Tommy Caulfield, who's the assistant pitching coach, as Robalí Batista, who held that role for the Canadians last year. He's doing the same thing now in New Hampshire. So good to see that all the managers and coaches are back for 2026, and they led this team to a 75-win campaign last year. So hopefully it'll be more of the same. Unfortunately, the season began very much like last season. Last night, of course, they lost opening night in Tri-City last year, but rebounded to get 2 wins to win that series, 2-1. So hopefully that will hold true, and that the Canadians can start the year with a winning record by the time they get here to Vancouver Tuesday night against the Eugene Emeralds.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about that, because we're going to obviously get back to regular baseball at Nat Bailey Stadium starting Tuesday, April the 1st, and there's a bunch of angles there. Obviously, first series of the season, running the usual Tuesday through Sunday with the Friday, Saturday, Sunday day games. But Eugene Emeralds come to town, and obviously a couple things happening at the Nat too. 75th anniversary of the Nat, that's going to be big. Obviously, first home series of the season. Let's talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, 75th anniversary, and the team is going to be wearing special jerseys for Tuesday night home games, including the opening night. The Nat, that's what is going to be scrawled across the jersey, which is basically what you see outside the stadium, the Nat, when you first approach the ballpark. So that script will be on the white jerseys. They look pretty sharp. I had a chance to see them during the team's photo day a few days ago. So yeah, it's going to be a nice look for them. So that'll be every Tuesday night. So it's going to be a lot to look forward to. Kevin Pillar is going to be at Nat Bailey Stadium later this season to say hello to the fans and sign autographs. And James Paxton, who was supposed to be signing autographs last year, that's going to be made up this year as well. So James Paxton, former Seattle Mariner, who, of course, from Maple Ridge, BC. So or sorry, not Maple Ridge. I'm sorry. I don't think that's Maple Ridge. I'm trying to think.
Right. We'll find it.
You'll find it. Yeah. Well, I know it's not Maple Ridge. I don't know. Sorry. I've had a bit of a, but he is a BC boy. That much I can tell you. And,
okay.
Of course, he was a very notable Seattle Mariner during his days, and finished up with the Red Sox. So, of course, and he, pitched for Canada at the World Baseball Classic, and looked pretty good in relief in his last outing there. And, if he wanted to come out of retirement, I don't know, maybe some team might maybe offer him something, but no, it looks like he's just going to, enjoy his retirement from Major League Baseball.
Yeah, and when I was doing the batter's box update, obviously a name that pops up for a lot of us who remember him very well was Peyton Williams, obviously playing with the Dunedin Blue Jays. We had alluded to it last year on the show, and I was trying to find more on that. What happened to Peyton based on his 2024 performance in Vancouver and moving up to New Hampshire, and now obviously in New Hampshire last year, but this year starting with the Dunedin Blue Jays. What's happening there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's maybe just a case. Again, it's a numbers game. You only have so many spots to go around in minor league baseball. He had a bit of a tough year with AA last year, so maybe it's just kind of a chance to maybe just hit the refresh button, take things slower, and then hopefully we'll see him back up with AA. So yeah, a bit of a surprise to see Peyton Williams' name in Dunedin. I thought his days with the DJs were done, and that he would at least be back with New Hampshire. So a bit of a surprise there. One other surprise, I guess, another former Canadian from last year, Matt Scannell. He ended the year last year here in Vancouver after beginning his pro career with Dunedin, but he's back in Dunedin again, numbers game. So it's kind of a game of musical chairs. You just try to find spots for everyone. Of course, players do get released or traded and whatnot. Right. Yeah, I mean, you got to find a place where these guys are playing. Right now for Peyton Williams, it's Dunedin, and hopefully Peyton will get back on track. The Iowa meat truck. Hopefully we'll see him start belting the ball out of the ballpark in Dunedin, and then hopefully take advantage of that short porch in right field in New Hampshire in 2026 later on.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see him in Vancouver at all, or would he skip Vancouver? I guess that's a question I was wondering too.
I'd be surprised to see him in Vancouver. I think I would think he's probably going to AA. I think the Blue Jays organization, I think it's just due to logistics, of course. Right. New Hampshire, Buffalo, they're all in the Eastern time zone. We're out here in the Western time zone. I wouldn't think so, but who knows? Who knows?
Right. And obviously Trey Savage, who made his move up the entire minor league system and into the Blue Jays, and then obviously pitching in the playoffs last year, including the World Series. Dude who had an arm impingement is now back with Dunedin. I was just reading that after putting up a batter's box update, which I've shared in the chat. He was in Dunedin again last night, and I felt like, oh boy, back to 2025 all over again for Trey Savage, right? Obviously, that's a rehab assignment. This time is different than it's, he's just starting in the system and moving his way up. But
that's right. I know.
I don't know how much of a concern that is for the Blue Jays. I saw a game the other night where Ponce, or one of their pitchers, Ponce looked like he pulled his hamstring, and obviously Savage isn't there, Ponce isn't there. So I was kind of wondering what that Blue Jays staff is looking like, other than the major guys like Gosman, and then I think Barrios is out, and then they signed who's the guy they signed from?
Patrick Corbin, yeah.
Yeah, right. So that was also in my batter's box update. Don't know if we'll see Patrick Corbin in Vancouver. He's going to pitch in Dunedin today.
Yeah, he'll pitch in Dunedin, and yeah, I'd be very shocked if I don't think Vancouver's ever had a rehabbing major leaguer. Not since Canadians days, maybe in AAA. That'll probably be the last time that's ever happened. Or if it did happen with Oakland, I'm not sure, but definitely not since the Blue Jays took over as affiliate of the Vancouver Canadians. So I don't see that happening. I mean, yeah, it'd be cool to see a rehabbing major leaguer here, but I mean, we've seen it time to time with the Everett Aqua Sox when they had Hisashi Akuma. He was here for a start in 2018. So it does happen from time to time. I can also remember Charlie Blackmon. There's a name for you. Colorado Rockies outfielder. He was with Tri-City to begin the 2012 season.
Right, that's right.
So it does happen, just not very often. Seattle, it's a pretty common occurrence for them, of course, because Everett's only basically half an hour away from T-Mobile Park, and of course you got Tacoma nearby as well. That's the ideal setup. I mean, if you're a major league team, to have your minor league teams are really close by, I guess maybe Baltimore might have the better setup, because it seems like all their teams are, or at least very close to Maryland, Virginia, I believe. Norfolk is their AAA, but anyway.
Right.
We don't see a lot of rehabbing major leaguers here in Vancouver unless it's with the other team.
All right, now, well, thanks for doing this, man. I don't have too much more for you. We're going to chat, throughout the season, maybe every 4 to 6 weeks, and got back into writing batter's box updates every week like you have. Obviously, just a simple one last week with just Buffalo's game. This week, a full slate of the affiliates, obviously Dunedin, Vancouver, New Hampshire, Buffalo. Going to be the same thing all the way now, probably until the end of August. And then obviously just Buffalo's games into September. But thanks for doing this, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks again.
Take care. Bye-bye.